Hey guys, it's Kaylor. Welcome to the YouTube channel. In today's video, I have another design to code for you guys, so I hope you're excited because this is one of the most requested series on the channel. So today we're going to be designing a landing page for an application. It's going to show the app and go through some of the features. You guys will probably recognize the app that we're going to be using today. It is the dark themed meetings application that we designed a few videos ago for the Adobe Xd tutorial series I have here on the channel. Today we're going to be making a landing page for that. So if you guys actually want to go back and follow that tutorial and create the app yourself, I'll leave a card on the screen right now. But if you don't want to do that, don't worry. I will provide everything for you. Everything you need will be in the project files. Link will be in the description. So here's the website we're going to be making today. It's going to be 3 sections. So the first section, the landing section, it's going to show the application and just tell a little bit about it. Also, it's going to have the navigation up top, of course. The next section is going to highlight some of the features. Here we're showing off the date and time and how it goes through your calendar and make sure you have nothing overlapping when you're setting a meeting. The third section is going to be showing off the grouping feature and inviting and adding people to the app. So that's our 3 sections we're going to be creating. So I hope you guys are ready. Let's go ahead and load up Adobe Xd and I'll show you what the project file is going to look like when you go ahead and download that. So here's what the project file is going to look like. It's an Adobe Xd design file, and it's going to have one artboard. The artboard is 920 by 1080. I'm using a 12-column layout, and I have some symbols, some fonts, and some colors. We're using the same character styles that we used for the app itself, so the circular font. And here I have 2 of the screens from the application just cut out. So we have the calendar and the time. We are going to be using these in the background of one of the sections. So I have those provided for you. And I also have some icons in here. So let's go ahead and get started designing now. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is drag out a rectangle, and I'm going to make this the full size of the artboard and set it to blue and remove the border. Then with my text tool, I'm going to type out a heading. And then I'm going to make this a text area. I'm going to set this to circular, bold, white font. Line it to the left. I'm going to position this on the second column here. 300 pixels from the top of the artboard. I'm holding Alt to get these dimensions. I'm going to drag this over to the 6th column. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all the way over here. And then drag it down so we can see the rest of our text. Then going to type out some more text. This is going to be set to size 25 font with a book-sized weight or regular. I'm going to make this a text area. I'm going to position this 10 pixels below our heading. And I'm going to drag this over to the same column we did the heading and then drag this down so we can see all of our text. I'm going to hold Alt and drag this down for another line. And this line is going to be 40 below this one, so we're adding more spacing here. This next line is going to talk about being available on Google Play and the App Store. And then I'll adjust the text box. So we're going to need a button below this. We're going to need 2 buttons for this entire website pretty much. So the first one is going to be the full width of 2 bars. So from this edge to this edge with a height of 54. I'm going to apply 1000 to the round so it's nicely rounded on each side. Remove the border. And then I'm going to apply a black fill to this. This is the darkest black. The color code is 1F2122. We also have a medium colored black and then a lighter colored black, which is light gray. This is going to be positioned 40 below this text area, matching the spacing up here. Inside of this button, I'm going to add some text that's going to say download the app. So download app. And this is going to be book-sized or regular-sized font with 20 points. And I'm going to center that up inside of this rectangle. I'm going to quickly turn off my layout grid. And you'll notice that these are not standing out very well from each other. So I'm going to select all of our text underneath our heading, and I'm going to drop the opacity down to 80%. Basically making it look a little bit grayish, and so it doesn't blend in with the heading. Now let's go ahead and make a logo for the company up here in the navigation. I'm going to do so by dragging out this icon, and I'm going to set this to white. We'll just position it right here on this column for now. Next to that, I'm going to be using a different font family other than circular. This is the only thing that's going to be not circular, so this is going to say meetings, all capital. And this is going to be switched to Basic Sans. I'm going to set this to 30 size font. And I'm going to change this from bold to black. I'm going to add 10 spacing in between this and this icon. And I'm going to position this 50 from the top and then center the icon up with that. So we have that for our logo. So now we're going to need a sign up button here in the corner, and I'm going to select this download app and its rectangle and copy that, holding Alt up to the top here. The width of our rectangle is going to go right here, which is touching the second column. The text is going to say sign up. I'm going to align that center and then center it up with our rectangle. Reposition the rectangle. And this, we're going to be removing the black fill and applying a white border with a 2-point stroke. For our other pages of the website, I'm going to hold Alt and copy the sign up text and go over 40 from the side of this rectangle. Holding Shift in my left arrow key, 10, 20, 30, 40. I'm going to align this text to the right. And it's going to say About Us. Do the same thing. The next page will be App Features. And then the last one, how it works. Now I'm going to select everything in our navigation and center it up. Check my spacing and make sure it's 50 from the top, and that looks good. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Alt and drag out this blue rectangle to make a copy. Over here in the pasteboard, I'm then going to drag out an image of two people kind of collaborating, looking at a wall. I'm going to send that to the back using Command-Shift left square bracket key. Select both of them and Command-Shift-M, or you can go to Object, Mask with Shape. Then I'm going to double click on my mask and adjust my image. I want the image to be touching the top and the right side, and then I'm just going to scale this in until it almost touches the side over here, and that'll give me my positioning. Then I'm going to drag this back over to the center of my artboard. Now that we have that, we can set this to 20% opacity. Hit Command Shift left square bracket key to send it all the way to the back, and then hit Command right square bracket key to bring it right in front of the blue rectangle in the background. Now I can select my artboard and turn off Layout Grid, and we have this. To finish this section up, we're going to need an image of the app itself. So I'm going to drag in one of my mock-ups that I have for you guys in the project files. It's just a woman holding the phone, and I'm going to scale this down just a bit so we can see it. The exact height and width I used on this when I was creating this design was 621 wide by 902 pixels tall. So I'm then going to position this using my grid, so I'm going to turn that back on. I'm going to line this up to the second column, so this edge is going to be touching that, and it's also going to be touching the bottom of the screen, and then I'm just going to push it down just a little bit so that it's not so close to the navigation. Around there looks good. So we're going to need to crop that out. So I'm going to create another rectangle, the full width of my artboard. I'll just remove the border. I'm going to open up my layers panel and select the iPhone in hand and also the rectangle. Then I'm going to hit Command-Shift-M again to mask the shape out, so it's now cropped up the size of the artboard. So when we go to drag the artboard down, it doesn't hang over the edge. So now that we're done with that, I'm going to make this viewport double the height. So 1080 by 2 is 2160. So that allows us to have two sections that are 1920 by 1080. So I'm going to grab a rectangle and drag that out to double check, and you'll see 1920 by 1080. So now on to the second section of the website. This section is going to have a white background with a mock-up in the center. So I will drag out the next mock-up. It's just a phone at an angle, and I'm going to scale this down using Shift and Alt. I'm going to set the height and width to 1000, and then hold Shift and grab the new rectangle we just made, and horizontally and vertically align that into position. For the first heading of this section, I'm going to put it up here. So I'm going to grab my text tool and type out easily set the date, and I'm going to set this to the darkest black we have, and let's bump that up to 45. So that's 45 points, and we also need this to be bold. I'm going to align this to the left and position it on the second column, 250 from the top of the separation right here. Below that, we're going to have some text. So I'm going to change this font to 25. And I'm going to change it back to the book sized. and make this a text area, and then copy and paste in some text. This text area is going to go all the way over to this column right here in the center, and then we'll drag down. Let's actually drag over just a bit so we have that last word. And this is going to go 10 pixels below easily set the date. Same thing we did with the white text up here. I'm going to drop the opacity just slightly to 80%. Now I'm going to use an icon on this, so I'm going to drag that out now. It's a calendar icon, and I'm going to center it up and go 16 from the side of our heading, which matches the distance between columns here. My text actually is not touching that column, so I'm going to adjust that and push that over. There we go. So I'm going to double click on this until I get to the grouping where I can change the color, and I'm going to set it to blue. Now I'm going to grab this heading and hold shift and grab the about text and copy this and put it down here. We're not actually going to align this to a specific column. I'm just going to kind of push it over visually around somewhere like that. Then we're going to need another icon, and this one is going to be a clock icon. Same thing, 16 spacing in between this and the heading. And then I'll double click on our icon until I can change the color and select blue. The text is now going to read running late, question mark, and then I'll put in some body text and then readjust my text area. And then I'm going to push this slightly over so that we don't have one word on its own line, so we have something like that. I'm going to select all of these and then just push them up a little bit. Now I'm going to turn off the layout grid just so you can see what we have so far. So we have a lot of white space in this section, so we're going to put something in the background here and right here to kind of fill that up and just give it more of a detailed feel. So what I'm going to be using is this calendar, and this is actually the same calendar from this design, just blown up a little bit. And then let's put it back on our grid so we can align this. I'm just going to align this visually. I'll just put it in line with his icon. That looks okay. And then I'll put this to 16% opacity just so it's in the background. And I'm going to hit Command Shift left square bracket key, which will send it all the way to the back. And then I'm going to start bringing it forward until I can see it. So it's in front of this rectangle using Command right square bracket key, which is just there. Then we'll also drag out this time adjustment. And then I'm going to do the same thing. On this one, I'm going to line it up to this column right here. And we'll put it like that. Drop this one down to 16% opacity and Command Shift left square bracket key to send it to the back. And then a quicker way of doing this, you can just select the giant rectangle and Command Shift left square bracket key on that, and that'll send it right behind this. So for this section, we currently have this, which is looking pretty good. So now we're going to create some lines to actually point to where these are on the phone, just for a little bit more detail. With the pen tool selected, I'm going to zoom in and go right here inside this blue and create a point. Holding shift, I'm going to go all the way over to this column and then go up and put it about 10 pixels from the bottom of this text. It doesn't have to be exact. The border on this is going to be set to blue, and I'm going to make this a stroke of 4. Next, I'm going to create a circle at the end of this for a nice round. And this is going to be 12 pixels by 12 pixels. And I'm going to set it to blue and remove the stroke. Then I'm going to position this 10 pixels below this text. And then line it up on this line. Then we can double click on the line and drag the path to about the center. Then I'm going to copy this new circle we just created and I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to scale this down by half, so 6 by 6. And then I'm going to do the same thing, just realign it here at the center. Now we're going to do the same thing for the running late section. We're going to point to the time. So for the time, I'm just going to go out beside the number value and just click. And then I'm going to hold shift and go over to this column. And then go straight down and put about 10 spacing. This one doesn't have to be perfect. And then click. We can then select the previous stroke, right click on it and select copy. Then select the new stroke, right click on that and paste appearance. Then I'm going to grab the 12 pixel by 12 pixel circle, hold Alt, and drag it over to our new stroke. And then we'll center this up to that line, just like that. Then we can grab the barely visible 6 by 6 and hold Alt and drag that over. And then visually align this up. And so now we have the second section done. For the third and final section, we need to once again expand the artboard, and since we have 3 sections of equal height, we need to multiply 1080 by 3, and we get 3,240. And I'm just going to copy this white rectangle that we have for this section down, holding Alt until it's in position. Then I just noticed we have a border on this, so I'm going to remove that, and I'm also going to remove it off of this one. And then we're going to make this black color right here. Now this section doesn't have a lot of content, just a heading and 2 things of text, and then it's going to have an image. So we're going to have to add some kind of visual detail here just to make it look interesting, and we're going to do that with some rectangles in just a minute. So first thing for this section, since it's very similar to the top, I'm going to grab the top heading and the 2 texts below it, Command-C on that, and then come down here and Command-V and paste that in. I'm going to align this up on the second column and put this 250 from the top of the section, just like that. I'm going to change the text to search friends and groups, and then we can change it from a text area to a point text since it's just 1 line. And then we can push these up until it's 10 below, and then change the text on those. And that's pretty much it besides the footer. That's all the text we need for the website. So over here, we're going to start by making a cool little way to show off search groups and friends. So I'm going to be doing that with some circles. So I'm going to drag out a circle with the ellipse tool, and I'm going to make this 122 pixels by 122 pixels. I'm going to right click on my blue and apply this as a border, and I'm going to set the stroke width to 2, and then I'm going to adjust this so it's on the outside of our circle. We're going to need a few of these, so I'm just going to kind of align these visually. And then one right here. Now this one's actually going to be larger. This one is going to be 200 by 200. It's going to be the current person we're actually selecting. So I'm just going to realign these just a bit so it looks a little bit nicer. And I'm going to select all these circles and adjust the stroke to 4 pixels because 2 is just a little bit too small. Each one of these circles is going to be someone's face, so I'm going to drag those in now. Now that I have all of my faces dragged in, and for some reason the stroke didn't change to 4, but now I fixed that. So I'm going to grab the line tool, and I'm just going to drag a line from the center of each of these to this woman right here. And then I'll create another line from this guy to her. And then one from here to here. And one from this guy to here. And the reason I have done that is because these people are in a group, and we're showing the groups and friends feature. So these are the kind of like the connections between them. I'm going to apply the blue as the border for this, and then bump this up to 4 on the stroke. And then I'm going to send this to the back. And then I'm going to send this black rectangle all the way to the back so that we can see it. These 2 guys right here are not in this group because they're not connected. So we're going to change the border on them to the medium colored gray. And I'm going to drop the opacity on them down to 80%. Next, I'm just going to drag out and select everything and then uncheck the background, holding Shift and clicking on it so that we have everything in this new grouping selected. I'm going to apply a shadow of 25 on the blur. And then for the darkness, I'm going to set it to 50 since we are on a very dark background. We need that to stand out. Now we need a way of showing that we are selecting this guy right here. So I'm just going to copy one of the faces, apply a white fill, bring this to the front, and then I'll set this to 50 by 50. Position this in the corner, and then we need a check mark icon, and I'll make that blue. Center that up horizontally and vertically. And that kind of shows that we're selecting this group. Now I'm going to turn off the grid so you guys can see what we have so far. This is what we're working with. I'm also going to put a magnifying glass icon over here before I forget. So I'll drag that in and then position that 16 from this. Double click on that so we can edit the color and set that to blue. This is what I'm talking about. We don't have a lot of info here, so we need an interesting way to kind of add some detail. So we're going to be creating those squares now. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool and just hold Shift and drag out a square. We'll do this about 600 by 600 pixels will work. On the border, I'm going to apply a 100 pixel radius. I'm going to remove the stroke, and then I'm going to apply this as the light gray so that we can barely see the difference between the two. And then I'm going to rotate this until it is 330 pixels on the rotation value. Then I'm just going to position this around there. And then I'm going to copy this and put this in the corner. And let's see how that looks. Okay, so let's bump this one over a bit more. Both these rectangles are a little too defined, so I'm going to select both of them and drop them down to 30% opacity. Perfect. So now let's turn back on the grid and add the footer. Grab my text tool with T and click on the screen, and I'm just going to type in a copyright symbol, 2018 meetings. I'm going to set this to this lightest gray we have and position this 50 from the bottom and on the second column here, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Then I'm going to hold Alt and Shift and drag this over and position it on this second column on this side. And then I'm going to align this to the right so we can type out privacy. Then I'm going to hold Alt and copy this, and this is going to be 40 spacing matching our navigation, and this one's going to say terms. So that is it for today's tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed part 1 of the design to code video. So in the next video, it will be part 2 where we will actually code this into a functioning website. I hope you guys are excited for that. If you are, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out more videos in this playlist. Subscribe for more UI related content. And as always, have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.